Uh, and we're live.
Are we? Yes, we are live. Hi, everybody. It didn't show on my screen. I was like, wait, no, we're not. It lies. Hey, y'all, and happy Tuesday. Of course, that means it's another episode of the Business and Learning Show. This is episode 21. Now, our mission here at Business and Learning is to bring you, the small business owner, education and inspiration to sustain and grow your business. So for more information on this episode and to learn more, head on over to businessandlearning.com.
Yes, head on over. And I've got a question for you, Tammy. Okay. You ready for this?
It makes me
She doesn't
nervous.
know I'm going to ask this. She doesn't know I'm going to ask this. So
Okay.
I want to ask you, how many of you times have you had a conversation with someone and then later found out it all happened in your head?
Oh, yeah. All the time. All the time.
All the time. All the
Yeah.
time. Okay. I think we all have done it. I don't know how many times I get messages from people like, I know I told you. No, you didn't tell me. But we talked about it. Like we had this long conversation. Like you actually had it in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And so this brings me to mention a podcast episode that I just listened to from Alex Sharfin, episode 627. If you look up the Momentum podcast by Alex Sharfin, it's episode 627. It's all about casting a vision.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think of this phenomenon of how many times we have conversations, we have business plans, we have marketing ideas. It's all in our head. We think we tell people, but it's literally all in our head.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. I'm famous for like sending text messages that never actually get sent. You know, it's one of those things. I blame it on ADD, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, so many times we sit there and we kind of formulate this plan in our head, and we, especially as business owners, and we kind of go, okay, these are the things that we're going to do. But then we don't ever tell anybody else what we're thinking of or which way we want to go or where that vision is going to take our business, especially when you have a team of people that are doing things on behalf of the business. If they don't know where you're taking them, how can they get there?
Exactly. And that's one thing that I don't know how many businesses we have worked with, we have coached, we have consulted with, we've helped restructure, that there's so many of them where their team has no clue what's going on.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and the founder, they have they're very insisting. Oh, they know what's going on. They know where we're going. They know the projects. They know what we're doing. But when you speak to them, they really have no clue what's going on.
Right.
And so that's one thing that I think is a huge foundation for any business, especially if you have a team, is that if you are going to cast your vision, which is different than a mission statement, if you're going to cast it out, make sure you actually cast it outside of your noggin. Like it literally needs to leave your head and needs to come out of your mouth with other people acknowledging they are hearing you and get it on paper as well. Because otherwise, nobody knows what you're thinking. Only you do. You know, your team doesn't know what you're thinking. Your team doesn't know your plans, and you really have to get it out. So, I want you guys to take a little challenge, take a little poll, ask your team members, ask your employees. Do you know where we're going this year? Do you know what we're doing? Do you know our plans? Did you know that we're launching a new product? And see how many people actually know this, that there's something happening. Because I guarantee you, at least one person on your team has no clue. And you'd be really surprised to find out they may be the person responsible for marketing it, for setting up the website on it, for the packaging. Like there's, it's really interesting when you have a team of that disconnect. So definitely make sure you share your vision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, and that's where the planning meetings that come into effect and setting those goals so that everybody is on the same page, not just as much for the whole vision, but what are the goals we're going to accomplish this year? What are the goals we're going to accomplish next month? Who needs to do what? It's not just necessarily just the vision itself. It's who needs to be doing what? When are we doing this? If we're launching a new product, what needs to happen now so that it's in the hands of the people it needs to be by November for the Christmas season. You know, it's just you got to keep everybody informed, and the communication is key. Like in any relationship, communication number one. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. So our guest today, I think,
yes.
has an amazing vision, and what's really cool is she shares it with her family. So both Tammy and I come from backgrounds of family businesses. We are doing business with family. And so it makes for a unique situation. So Renee Harris actually started MadeOn Skincare, and she found 3 ingredients, just three simple ingredients that were natural, and they helped fix her extreme dry skin. And then after she started doing that, she started helping her son's skin. And then she went to a farmer's market, which we'll talk all about this to her. But what I love is the fact that her family can run the business. So if Mama Renee wants to take a day, business keeps going. She doesn't have to worry about it. And I love
awesome.
that. So I love the vision. I love it. And we're really excited to welcome Renee Harris from MadeOn Skincare.
Hi. Yay.
Welcome to the show, Renee. We are so excited that you were here. I love what you've done and creating the business, and we're doing it with your family. Just phenomenal. Love it.
Well, it's funny that you said communication, because I'm constantly texting my son. I have my 16-year-old who helps me the most, but he has also another job. So he's got a different part-time job. And while he's at work, I'm texting him like, did you take care of this issue? She had, this customer had a question on her order. Did you? So the poor guy. So that's how to communicate. It is family communication. And it's usually me like, oh, I need to ask my son this question. So yeah. Yep.
That is awesome that you can rely so much on your 16-year-old. So if you wanted to take a day or 2 days, that that the business is in great hands and he can handle what needs to happen.
Yeah. And that kind of comes about with identifying, seeing which kid is good at what. And if they show some initiative, we rope them in. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So why don't you tell us what exactly is hard lotion? I'm super excited to hear about this. Like what type of skin issues does it help? Because I live in Iowa and it gets cold here. And every year I have such dry skin issues with the cold and the freezing temperatures. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, it's perfect for dry winter skin. When your skin, your fingers and your feet get those cracks and splits. That was my issue. My knuckles would crack. It would be so, and so it would get those splits. And then if you're dealing with cooking in the kitchen, and I wasn't even thinking about starting a business at all. I just had a problem, which was my dry skin. And so my knuckles would bleed, and then you're trying to like chop lemons in the kitchen and it just stings like crazy. If you had access to salt water in the ocean, it stings. So that was my skin. It was super dry. We used to live in Colorado Springs, actually where we live here in California. It's also very dry. But yeah, that weather, especially in the winter, it's the winter skin. In the summer, for me, I'm barefoot all the time. So then it's the split in my heels. So so the 3 ingredients. So how this all kind of came about was that between my mom and I, both of us having super dry skin, I must have inherited it from her. We would always try to compare notes. Like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Like the bag balm. I don't know if you guys know that kind of the greasy udder. It's like udder balm.
Oh, yeah.
Try that. Yeah. It's greasy. It doesn't work as well. It would be, constantly putting Band-Aids on your skin, and the next day or anytime you wash them, you have to replace the Band-Aid. So it was just like this constant problem with our skin, and we would compare notes. And then one day my mom had called me to tell me that she found a product at a farmer's market in Colorado, and we were in California at the time, that a friend had given her, and it was a lotion bar, and I had never heard of that. I thought, that doesn't make sense. How can it be a bar? Lotion, it's supposed to be. So
right.
But it existed, and it was at this farmer's market, and she said, this is the one thing that's helping my skin. Can you make it? And this was like, she asked me if I can make it because she knew I was into making soap. And that was about the extent of it. I made like, I was just getting into making soap, but nothing, glamorous. It was just a fun project on the side.
Right.
So I Googled it, and in some kind of remote forum, I actually found a recipe for it. Actually, I found probably 20 recipes in the soap forum. And I thought, well, I can make it, but how complicated is it going to be? So I just chose the easiest one that had only 3 ingredients, and ingredients that I can find at my natural food store. So it was just shea butter, beeswax, and coconut oil. I figured, okay, well, that's easy enough. I'll try it. And so I went to the store, got my ingredients, learned how to make it. It was the easiest thing in the world. It's actually something we teach our customers. They can go and find the recipe and make it themselves.
Cool.
And made it. And it was amazing because within like a couple hours, after I made it, it sets. It just takes a little bit of time to harden. It's almost like making chocolate. You melt your hard ingredients, you stir it, you pour it into some kind of a mold or like ice cube trays. You let it set until it hardens. To pop it out, you can stick it in the freezer for half an hour, pop it out. That's it. That's all you do. And on top of that, the other secret, they're the same amount of ingredients. So if you weigh them out, it could be 3 ounces of each, and that makes a couple bars right there. So that's all you do. That's super, super easy. So, but it was amazing because it fixed my skin. It was no longer dry, cracked, split. It totally fixed my skin. And then, so that was that was just the beginning of it for me, not even thinking about starting a business or anything. But from there, my little town that we live in now, which is maybe 2,000 people, they were starting a farmer's market downtown. And I thought, oh, that'd be fun. I can get my 2 oldest boys, who were, I think they were 10 and 8 at the time, to come, and we could just sell something. And I didn't even think of what could we sell. I was just thinking, oh, that'd be fun, a little farmer's market. I could just not quite lemonade, upscale from doing a lemonade stand. And I had been baking bread out of my house and thought, oh, that's easy. I know how to bake like a lot of bread at once because I had 2 Bosch mixers and I can get them going at the same time and make like loaves of bread in one day. So I just thought I'd just do that times 5 in our little town. We could have a bread business.
Right. Exactly. There you
go and look at all the restrictions and then how difficult, and you can't even store the ingredients in your house. This is way back then. It's changed a little bit, but it was like, okay, there are all these barriers to try to even sell at a farmer's market for food items. So I nixed that and then thought, well, if people understand what this lotion bar thing is all about, that could be kind of fun to sell.
Yeah.
And so we figured out the packaging. We could put them in little tins. Literally just used stickers that we printed from like Avery.com, and we would just slap them onto the tins. And it was super, super basic. I would just come up with some really simple design. And then we named the business and we were on our way. And that was like being launched into marketing 101. The best way to do it is you go to a farmer's market and then you try to explain your product to people walking by. And I hate selling. That's not like there's no way I'm going to.
Right, exactly.
Put your stand up and they will come. But no, you have people to come. So my next step was to get my cute little boys to wear these t-shirts that I made that said dry skin ? Thinking, okay, now people will know, oh, that's a product that fixes my problem. So maybe they'll come to our stand then.
Great idea.
Yeah. So that was super easy. I mean, like super cheap t-shirts from Michael's and got our little, stenciled things on it. And then I had my cute little boys with their little t-shirts. And then the next step was, okay, I got to get people to try this. I don't want to buy something that you can't try.
Right.
So we made the lotion bars into tiny, like Tic Tac size samples, and they put them on a little platter. So then it went like a little sign on the platter that said samples or something. So next, I had to get my boys out there to go walk and roam around the people to say, hey, horrible. I know, I'm so mom. I'm just like, no, mom. One extrovert kid and one who I said, you just stand back and watch and give me feedback. Like you kind of like be the survey guy. You see what people are asking, especially what questions they're asking, because you have to be able to answer their questions. So that really, having the samples, having like only one product, and then explaining it really well, and having a product that solves people's problems was like what I learned right away from the farmer's market. And then the next step, we thought, okay, well, there was actually another vendor who had soap and lip balm and lotion bars too, because I thought I was the only one that ever knew what this was, because I had so apparently there was somebody else there who had a whole bunch of products, including lotion bars. So then we had to distinguish our products from anybody else.
Sure.
And so I found, by just researching the ingredients more, I found out they're edible ingredients. You can eat them. So all of a sudden, okay, this is going to open the market. Not that people want to,
Wow.
Right.
but that opens up the market to safety. Like all these parents who are concerned about their kids eating, their lotion, or little 2-year-olds sucking something out of a tube or whatever. Not that happens that often, but but we went and talked about the safety. So I told the kids, okay, you could tell people that it's edible. So the funny thing with that was, I had one guy, when my son said, it's edible, he said, oh, well, then why don't you eat it? So he kind of challenged my son to actually eat it. So it's kind of funny, to get my kids challenged to do some things. So anyway, we spent a summer doing that. And then we kind of ventured off into a bigger farmer's market. And really, it wasn't that it made a ton of money, but it taught us so much. And the best part, because I had my kids helping me, they got to come away with everything that they traded lotion for. So there'd be like some guy selling wooden swords, and they would go trade lotion for a wooden sword. So we would come home not with really cash, but the stuff that they found to trade with at the farmer's market. And that to me that's good enough. I wasn't trying to really make money. I just kind of wanted the experience of it. And then, so we did that for another season, probably a total of about 9 months, until I decided, like, if this can work at a farmer's market, can I get it to work online? And so from there, we launched it. We just had a website, and then we had to get traffic to our website. This was 2009, when there were a lot of mom bloggers. So we contacted a ton of mom bloggers to try our products. And within about 6 months, it started to take off, where we got traffic and some sales from that. And so we just kept growing it and growing it and growing it since then.
I love this story. Oh my gosh.
I know.
You just kind of fell into it out of a basic, just interest in one thing and solving a problem that so many people have, whether they live in Iowa or Colorado. And I used to live in Colorado, so in Colorado Springs, actually. So I know exactly how that weather is there. Just crazy. That's awesome. I love that story so much.
Yeah. So then from there, we just kind of figured out how to make other products, because just add a little bit more coconut oil, and now you have lip balm, and add bug repelling essential oils, and then you have a bug repellent bar. So we would start to expand the line by just adding some more products to it over time, and just built our customer base from email. So
that's awesome. And that is so key, because that's one of the biggest lessons that we've learned with Business Unlearning, is not doing that way back when I first started with it. And email, because social media can go away, your website can drop off the face of the earth through your hosting or whatever, but you always have your email. You always have that. So that's so awesome. So you mentioned that your 2 boys were involved with it. Is the rest of the family as involved with this?
Yeah, in fact, that was 11 years ago. So those boys are now out of the house. They've already, one's 20. Let's see, one just turned 21 and the other is 22. And they moved on from lotion. But I did have my oldest do a lot of the product photography from that. So he learned a lot of skills, and then from that he became a drone photographer. So he has his own drone business now. And I feel like, because we had a home-based business, this became a full-time business for us. And so because of that, he was able to see what he could do and where his skills and talents were. So he started first with photography, and then video editing. And then he saw, drones are really cool. So he learned all about doing drone video. And then he's done a ton of drone work out here in California, especially after the wildfires we had a few years ago. He's doing drone video for PG&E, the electric company. So it kind of opened some doors for him. And then other than him, there's a little bit, like I try to get the kids involved in small ways. Some of them can do like fold envelopes. I mean, fold paper, like newsletters into envelopes, like little ones can do that. And we have 9 kids, so there's a big spread. And really the one kid that's doing the most right now is my 16-year-old. He's the one that I could just leave it to him and go. He doesn't do as much customer service on the front end, but in the back end, he handles a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He showed a lot of interest, so we roped him in, and it's working out really well. Yeah.
Now, is Dad also involved as well? So okay, so is this like sole income for the family?
Yeah, so we made it sole income about probably 3 years in. And so my husband had been working from home. He was working for Hewlett Packard, and then there were just a lot of layoffs and so on. So he knew his time was coming. And we're up in Northern California, where it's not Bay Area. We are far from the Bay Area. So for a tech job like he had, we would have to move closer. He would have to travel. There's just a lot of more factors involved. Yeah. So he left Hewlett Packard, and then we pretty much were able to put this into a full-time income for us probably about 3 years in, to make it match and then start to exceed what he was making. So yeah. And then his part right now is all production. He does all the production.
Okay, so I have a question, because like that's a big decision to make, to say this is going to, like, we're putting all of our eggs, all 9 of them, into a basket. So what was it that made you decide that this was going to be what supported your family?
Well, first we knew layoffs were coming, so then that was the thing that was the trigger.
So just pushed it.
Yeah. So he knew that's where we had to make a decision, because we weren't like making a ton of money off it at all. So we had to decide, are we going to move to the Bay Area so that he can find other work? Sure. Or we really like where we live. I mean, it's perfect for raising a family, and we didn't want to have to move to the big city. So that was the biggest trigger. It was like, okay, well, we either have to do this, and we had enough savings to kind of support us for a little while, or at least to try it out and see if we can sustain it, or we would have to move to a different city. So we decided that let's just take that risk and go for it.
I love that. That's so awesome.
And so many people, they wouldn't do, like, they would take what would be seemingly the easier route and just, let's move, or you can commute, versus we're going to do this. And I love that you guys did it.
And I don't know if that would have been an easy route for us, because we have to move everybody.
Right. So, it's a lot of people to move.
Well, I suppose the commute could have been possible, but it just wasn't the life we wanted to live. So
right.
We decided, well, let's just take a risk and see. And then he could always go back and do something else if it didn't take off.
Sure. Yeah. I love that, you guys just took that the possibility of that change and go, you know what, we're just going to do this. We're all in. Everybody's on board. This is what we're doing now, and going for it. Because I think a lot of people would have, that fear might have stopped them. They might have go, oh, this is affecting our entire family, and what if it doesn't work? And so kudos to you guys. Awesome. Seriously.
Yeah. And there's one other important thing that I want to bring into this mix is you did all this while homeschooling your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
To me, that was like, well, we don't have to drive them places. We were always home anyway, so it felt like, and I know on the outside probably looks like that you're busy doing all of that. And that was probably the biggest adjustment, though, because I had been homeschooling the kids, and then I was doing this little side gig. And then my husband was doing his job, which was a work from home job. So he was home, but I was doing all the homeschooling. So then when we took this on, this is kind of a funny story too. I had to be the front person because, one, I'm female and I'm the one doing all the customer support, and could a guy take over and answer women's questions as easily as a woman can, especially dealing with like mom bloggers? Nowadays, yeah, and he can totally do that. Back then, I wasn't so sure. Like I just felt like, well, I don't know. Are you going to say something to offend them? This is my micromanagement. So I was worried about that, so we thought, okay. And then at the same time, he was looking at the way that we were homeschooling and deciding like, we don't have to do school at home. That's how and I was a high school teacher before we got married. So I had taught school and kind of, in a lot of ways, wasn't taking full advantage of the homeschooling part where you can do whatever you want within reason with homeschooling. So I wasn't really taking full advantage of that and in the way that we were doing that. And we could rope our kids in. We can teach them all about entrepreneurship. It doesn't have to only be reading, writing, and arithmetic. It can be all this other stuff. So he got jazzed about the fact that he could take over more of the homeschooling. And we even got the domain lotionguide.com because I thought, you know what, you could do lotion reviews and you could talk about the ingredients. And he got into that. He could talk about the ingredients. And he said, well, what happens if you put like beef tallow on your skin? How is that different from shea butter and stuff like that? So we did some fun with it back then. But anyway, it kind of turned into, he took more of the homeschooling over, and then I stuck with the business part, and we would just kind of compare notes. But looking back, that was probably the biggest adjustment, is me taking over kind of the business side and taking over the homeschooling. But I am so glad we did, because I've seen what he has done with the homeschooling part, and it's been amazing. So that to me is like, it's absolutely worth it just to see what he can do. And now the kids are so entrepreneurial. Each of them has a very unique skill and talent that he's been developing with them. And that's been totally worth it. So
that's awesome. So cool. And I love to see, especially when kids get jazzed about being an entrepreneur, because they can go in so many different directions. I mean, one of your oldest started, selling lotion with mom, and now he's doing drone photography, which my husband would kill to do. So that's awesome to see that progression from helping mom with her little side gig to being able to do something that is just very cool.
Yeah. And they see a lot of behind the scenes. So, we have one of our kids who is, 14. I didn't remember his name. He's doing podcast editing. So he has been editing for some, different podcasts, starting with friends of mine who had podcasts, and then he's all in. So everything that he's learning and doing is very business oriented too. And then his other little side gig for fun is he wanted to earn some more money to buy something. And I said, well, why don't you sell something on eBay? So lately he has been selling his Legos on eBay, and one little minifig he got like $70 for that cost him like $5,
Wow.
So he's kind of figuring out some different business things that we talk about it all the time. And then we compare notes. And when you're doing an auction, you got to start small. Don't just make it the same price as what you think it's worth. That doesn't work that way. So just a lot of conversations that you have with kids as they're learning. So we make them earn their money if they want to buy big stuff. But yeah, it's kind of nice to have it happen.
So we also homeschool our kids, and we have home businesses. So my kids are like starting to get into that. And actually right now they're with dad spending their money that they've earned. Like, can we get headphones? I'm like, okay. And I love that they're all just diving into this entrepreneurship, and that, with that, they can go in so many directions. So I know you've said you've been doing this for about 11 years. In that 11 years, what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned as an entrepreneur?
For myself, as an entrepreneur, I think you just have to know that things change all the time, and you have to learn to keep up. And that's really challenging. So, what worked for us in 2009 doesn't work necessarily as well today. And so, but you have to have that learning spirit. You've got to be willing to just try and adapt and not get too frustrated when things don't work out, because you just have to keep trying, do something different, and something will stick, so it's been, that's all. I think that's just the ongoing, having the right attitude about, what will work, and not getting discouraged if something that you think is thing, it won't. And then the other, I think, would be watching the trends over the years as far as our own sales trends. Like I can get really discouraged on our down months, but then if I just look back to see how that same month last year or the year before is low, then I'm like, okay, no, it'll be better next month, because this every single year for the past 8 years or 9 years, this is particular month or months, for us, it's the summertime, it's usually slower, is down. And so we just need to kind of recharge. We kind of clean up in the background. We just clean up the website, get some products out of stock that we don't want to do anymore, because we know Christmas is coming, and that's when things really take off for us. So just doing those things, it helps to know. The more you've been in business, the longer you've been in business, it helps to know those things will happen. So,
and that's one of the key things I think that many businesses who struggle go, well, I'm heading downward, and then that fear starts popping in, where the data does not lie. The metrics don't lie, the analytics don't lie. It's just a hard, cold fact. But if you do like you're talking about, and you're looking at, okay, where were we last year? Where were we the year before? What's kind of happening? And you kind of go and you make decisions based on that data and not that internal feeling inside. Yeah. Then you're going to be able to weather that storm. And so everybody's kind of reeling from COVID and the pandemic. How have you guys been able to pivot, or have you had to pivot to kind of meet the needs of your customers during this time?
Well, what we did when it all started, I panicked because you don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea. Right. So you see things are shutting down. So we kind of, first of all, we had to have like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Is the worst case scenario that our for me, it was like, okay, if our local post office decides that we cannot ship out, if the post office shuts down, that's going to be super hard for us. So I was a little bit more worried about California and just what might happen in California, but we're close enough to Oregon and we're close enough to Nevada that what if we were to just go and have like an office in another state that we can operate from? So we kind of had a little strategy in our mind, like, well, okay, so maybe we can't do things here. We can't move the family over, but what if we could just rent office space and then kind of like legally be able to do something in another state? Right. So that was one thing. Sales wise, what we did was I had such a good relationship with my email list that I could try to sell something to them that might not be exactly within our skincare line, or like I can tell them about somebody else's stuff and be an affiliate for somebody else. And oftentimes, if it's something I believe in and it comes across that way, then they want that too. So we had a local seamstress, this is right when everything happened, who was selling masks on Etsy, and her husband was laid off, and so they needed more work. And so I thought, well, it's totally outside our line of stuff, but what if we sold masks on our line? She can sew.
Great idea.
Yeah. We did that. I don't know if it was good or bad. I mean, it was great to get us through a month, but oh my goodness, I wasn't expecting how much like elastic was going to go out of stock. So we had, I told her to be prepared. I go, well, we'll probably sell 50 by this weekend. Do you have enough stuff to make 50 masks? And, I went through and she showed me the fabric she had, and she said, I can do 50. That's fine. Well, then it ended up that we sold 400 in the first 2 weeks, and she didn't have enough elastic. And I thought, well, just get more elastic. No, everybody was out of elastic. So we had to both kind of scramble and find the materials. And then some of the stuff wasn't good. The elastic wasn't right. And then, after about 2 weeks of people not getting their orders because there was this delay and it takes time. And I have thought through everything. That's the one thing I've kind of gotten better at doing too. It's like, if I'm going to do something, I have to think of everything that could possibly happen that could go bad. Right. So I thought, well, my main thing was, if we get overwhelmed, is she going to bail on me? Because I didn't know her that well. I knew her a little, through an acquaintance, but I didn't know her well enough to know, does she have a plan? Does she have some help if it gets bad? And so she assured me, yes, my mother-in-law is going to back me up and help me out. So don't worry, we've got it covered. So I trusted her on that part. And then it's just dealing with customers who are like, where's my stuff? I need this today. La, la. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is too stressful. And I hate that. I can't sleep until the orders are out. I do not like delays. It's just
sure.
And so just all of these different things kept coming up, but she came through. I think the worst was that we had delays, and second worst was that some of the elastic that we had wasn't that great. And then we had to order. And then by the end, oh my goodness, we had because I was ordering elastic for her, she was ordering it. And then there were delays in the shipment of the elastic, like one was a month late. So by the time we were done, like after about a month of selling, I was done doing masks. I was like, this is it. I'm not doing this. It was a great thing to sell while it lasted, but I'm like, I am so done with this. She had so much elastic. I thought, okay, we're going to do COVID stretch pants because of all the COVID 15 pounds that we're all gaining with our next product. I'm going to start.
Right.
But anyway, so it carried us through. And then after that, it was just the fact that a lot of people were buying online really helped us. So we didn't have to suffer nearly as much as other people did.
Sure.
And having an online business really, really saved us. I think if we were a brick and mortar store, it would have been really hard, but
yeah. And so many brick and mortar stores are struggling because of that.
Yeah.
You know, customers are afraid to come in. Staff is afraid, you know, they're going to be exposed to COVID-19 or whatever. So, but that's awesome that you guys were even able to take a pandemic and flip it on its head and create some masks. And even if there were delays, it sounds like you guys did really well with that. So
we got through it, and then I was like, I'm done. And that was the other part was that, you know, I would give her, and I got too enthusiastic about like trying to meet my customers' needs by having all these different patterns. And that became a little bit of a nightmare to keep track of because I would have a whole database for her to say, okay, I need 3 that look like this. I need 10 that look like this. And then I did 3 different sizes, like child, you know, so it just became a lot. I'm glad we did it. It helped us get through, but I was ready to be done with it. And I don't know that I would do it anymore.
I can't say that I blame you at all whatsoever. Sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard. So yeah. And then the funny thing is that after that, our next big thing, Mother's Day came up. And so I thought, well, okay, let's just do something where it's actually a package of skincare products. And our whole spin on that was like, you're probably not going to get to spend Mother's Day with Mom this year. So why don't you send her something? That did far better than all of the mask chaos. And it was something that we had much better profit margin on. And we made it all from home. We can get really personal with, you know, just little cards that we would write their messages on and send it to them and so on. So it was, that became something like, oh, well, if I had known that, we could have really boosted a Mother's Day and, you know, Easter and so on. But it worked out. It all worked out.
That's awesome. Well, okay, I gotta ask. You're a mom of 9. You homeschool in conjunction with your husband and run a business. How do you do it?
Please tell me. I need to know.
Yeah, Alaina really needs to know.
I think this is what when we had our first 4 kids, I had a 4-year-old and then a 2-year-old, and then I found out I was pregnant with twins. This is no, I was not running a business at all. But I just remember thinking you just have to go one day at a time because I didn't know I was going to have twins. And all of a sudden I thought, oh my goodness, I'm still potty training number 2. And now I've got twins. How am I going to do this? You just learn it, but you also learn how much your kids can take over. You realize, oh, wow, I can assign, if Mom has to be on a phone call, we will figure this out. And, sometimes you have to be just a little bit generous or do things you wouldn't normally do just to get them to be settled or whatever.
Yeah.
And then other times you just realize, oh, wow, when they have to, kids can step up and get the job done. So when we get busy and we need kids to be all hands on deck, we're doing this, I need everybody to help. Or even if it's just like, I don't do any of the cooking at all anymore. I train my kids how to cook and I don't touch, we just don't do the cooking, the kids do. So we kind of learned early
on. We do that here too.
You just have to. And then, you kind of teach them what you want them to cook. And then you realize, wow, when they leave the house, like my 22-year-old, he's throwing dinner parties all the time and he's an excellent chef. But he had to kind of learn that on his own. And out of necessity. It's like survival skills that you realize, oh, this is actually good. This is a good skill for them to have.
Right.
Yeah. Very important. I can't tell you how many people that when I first moved out on my own, I was very thankful that I at least knew the basics. I could make macaroni and cheese, and I could make a killer grilled cheese sandwich.
That was about my skills right
there. So those were my dinner parties where, hey, you want to come over, play Phase 10, and we can have grilled cheese. Yeah, but I just like with you, I look at that because there's so many people that when they leave home, they don't know how to do laundry. They don't know how to cook. They're completely just, I'm going back home. But I look at my kids now, they're, even the 2-year-old, he can move stuff from the washer to the dryer, and the kids all know how to cook. Our 8-year-old, he can make some really good scrambled eggs. I have to say, so they all know that. And I think that's so important just with what you're doing elsewhere with the entrepreneurship. And showing them how hard mom and dad work, and showing them the ways that you adapt, and teaching those skills to them so that when they hit something, they can change. They can also, do different things.
Yeah, and the one nice thing to also just rest assured that if you messed up something, or you forgot to tell them how to separate whites and darks or whatever, they will figure it out when they're on their own. So a lot of the stuff that I thought, especially I had one of my sons go move in with my brother and his wife, and then I kind of got told, oh, does he not wipe down the counters ever? And then I realized, okay, but they learn later. So any of those important skills that don't get done under your roof, I mean, especially these kids nowadays, they get to go Google everything, or they have someone tell them oh, you should be doing this. But so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do one quick thing with you that we do with everyone. It is a rapid fire time. We're going to go right on through this because we have run a little bit long, but your story is just so amazing. And I think so many families with kids that are wanting to do home businesses, this is exactly what they need to know, that it can be done. You can do it. So let's go right into our rapid fire. So Tammy, you got a question for Renee?
I do. Okay, Renee, what is the perfect day for you?
Business-wise or anything-wise?
Anything you want.
A perfect day would be if I and my husband are able to just get up, have our coffee outside, and then do a little exercise, and then just take off for the day. We are 3 hours from the ocean. I would go with them to the ocean, have lunch, come back home, and find out that the house has been cleaned by the kids and the business has been taken care of. That's never happened.
That is the perfect day. Seriously.
Definitely. All right. So I have a question for you, but I'm going to make it a twofer because you kind of maybe have answered it. So are you coffee or tea, or beach or mountain?
Okay. Coffee and beach for sure.
All right.
Love the beach. Okay. So what is a book that you've recently read, or some people like audiobooks, that you've listened to?
Oh man. Oh, there's so many. I'm trying to, okay. I just saw it right there on my shelf. I love the Enneagram. I'm so into Enneagram.
Me too.
Road Back to You by Ian. What is it? Crone? Yeah.
What is your number?
I am a 9 with the wing 8.
Okay. I'm an 8.
You?
I'm an 8.
Oh, okay. I'm married to an 8.
Yay, 8s!
That's why we succeed in our business. It's because I'm married to him.
I am not a number because I don't know my number.
We are going to get working on that.
We're going to have to find out. We will find out what that is. Great. All right. So if you could have any 3 people, dead or alive, over for dinner, who would they be?
Oh, dead or alive. I have my favorite mastermind group is with my friend Melissa. She's melissaknorris.com, and Carolyn Thomas. She's Homesteading Family. And the 3 of us are in a mastermind group. So only 3 though. Let's see. I need to pull somebody else in there. Oh boy, because we talk Enneagram all the time. We would just invite the author Ian over to talk to us about.
Sure, yeah.
There you go. That would be fun.
Okay, so what is your favorite local meal, local restaurant out there by you? What meal would it be?
We live in like ranch town. We have no local restaurants, but we do have a little, we are right next to a man-made lake. We're in the neighborhood of a man-made lake, and it's huge. A lot of homes are on the lake. There's a big clubhouse. They have a restaurant with pretty decent food. My daughter actually works there. So we like to, that's our happy spot, is to go sit on the deck of the restaurant overlooking the lake and hanging out there. It's not just a restaurant. It's like a little bar / restaurant. So we love just hanging out on the deck.
That's awesome. I love that.
All right, last question for you. What was your favorite TV show growing up?
Oh no, let's see. Well, I just feel like our kids are so into like the Andy Griffith Show, and I'm sure I watched that growing up. I just feel like there's so many shows from the past that I'm watching with my kids now that they're younger. So that one just comes to mind. I love that. And Mary Tyler Moore, that kind of stuff. I love that.
Oh,
or Dick Van Dyke.
Yep. I've been watching with the kids Bewitched, and they just think it's hysterical. They're like, well, how did they do that? Because they didn't have technology then.
There's all kind of magic in the 70s.
Yeah.
All kinds of magic.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Renee, for sharing your story with us and giving us hope that you can raise a bunch of kids. You can work from home. You can have a successful business, and you can do it during a global pandemic. So I love that. And thank you so much for being here, and also for providing us with a special coupon code for everyone to get. I have some on display here. I've got the Bee Silk, and I've got the Foot Rub. And this is my favorite, the Peppermint Lip Balm. Love it. So if you guys want to save 15% on the MadeOn Hard Lotion, you can use Biz15 and you can save the 15% just by going to hardlotion.com. And what is your Instagram again?
Hard Lotion. Facebook is Hard Lotion. Instagram's Hard Lotion. And when you go to hardlotion.com, there's a little store site. You go straight to the store site too.
And I just dropped the hard lotion. Good thing it's in this amazing tin to protect it.
Well, Renee, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved this conversation that the three of us have had tonight. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's fun.
Thank you.
All right. Fun. That was fun. So that's about all the time we have because we went a little bit over. But you know what? It's okay. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Business and Learning Show. Again, a very special thank you to our guest, Renee Harris, for her insight, tips, and, of course, her time today. Don't forget to use the link to get 15% off. And, again, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.